Okay, here we go.
How you doing, everybody? This is Dennis Michelson. Welcome to the science of fantasy football. Why the science of fantasy football? Well, you get a meteorologist and a biologist together. They're going to apply the scientific method to their madness of looking through all of the statistics. And it just means, folks, we're going to let statistics guide us to an answer instead of cherry picking those statistics and using statistics like a drunk uses a light pole. And joining me as does each and every week because he is the fantasy professor. He's a real professor. And hey, he's the smarter science, the biologist side of this twosome. It's John Bush. And John, very interesting conference championships, but no football this week. What are we going to do?
What are we going to do? Well, we're going to do research, Dennis, and that's
Yes, we
what
are.
we've been doing. You and I just spent a good bit of time showing our secret stuff, and now we're going to talk about public stuff. But I think a lot of what we discuss will be in a poster that we will display at the expo in July. So we encourage the two or three people that take the time to listen to us flap our chops. You can come meet us at the expo, and who knows what we'll be doing at that point. That's in July, so I have no clue. But you should go to the expo. It's fun. The Hall of Fame is great if you've never been there. If you're a Saints fan, you get the one or two shirts that they have on some of our famous players in the broom closet, and the rest of the time there's the Chiefs wing, and uh, all the other teams got lots of stuff. And like I said, the Saints are stuffed in the corner as usual.
So, first of all, I want to explain the secret sauce because it comes in two varieties. Okay.
Okay.
When we say secret sauce, there is some stuff that we're discussing today that is not ready for prime time yet. Because using the scientific method, you have to look at this data and really understand it before you can even attempt to explain it to somebody else. So that's one form of the secret sauce. The other is stuff that we find that is so radical that gives us an advantage that we're not sure we want to share with anybody. But those are the two flavors of secret sauce whenever you're hearing that term get thrown out there. Because you know me, Professor, I don't like to throw terms out unless I define them. It's kind of one of my biggest pet peeves, and I know yours too, is we
Yep.
just don't put enough definitions on stuff. So I figured I would define secret sauce. But before we get to some interesting stuff today, I need help from you.
Uh-oh.
I
Oh,
need help from you.
oh,
So the big Super Bowl coming up
yeah.
next week.
Big
Of
Super.
course, I'm going to be watching it.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't have a team in this fight. Not really crazy about the Seahawks. Not really crazy about the Patriots. So I don't have a team
Yeah.
going to the Super Bowl for the first time in 3 years. The last 3 years, it's been easy getting ready for the Super Bowl
Yeah.
because I've had a team in it 5 of the last 6 years.
Yeah.
It's been easy to get ready for the Super Bowl because I've had. So I got to ask you, as a Saints fan,
Yeah.
how do you get ready for a Super Bowl and get hyped up for this game when your team's not playing?
Yeah. I don't get hyped up, Dennis. I'm. It's just curiosity about the players that potentially I might draft next year. It's all in that lens. So I'm looking not at the team level production. I'm just curious about the different individual players, and just kind of see what they're doing, and under extreme situations, see if can the two quarterbacks handle the spotlight, this year. There's a lot of questions at the big level, And that's what I'll be just noting. I don't think that is going to really be primary data. It's what I would call secondary, just maybe breaking some ties in early drafting that I'll do in August, maybe if it comes down and it's so close. But right now, that's what I'm doing. So I'm hyped up about the individual players I'm curious about and see how they perform under extreme situations.
Did we learn anything from the two conference championship games that we can apply to next season, the 2026 season? Because I looked at the AFC game,
Mhm.
and snow in the second half and got worse by late in the third quarter, to the point that the fourth quarter, I don't think anything we saw in the fourth quarter we can make any conclusions from, because it was all weather driven lack of success for both offenses. And in the Seattle Rams game, it seemed like the defenses did not really play as tough as I expected them to. We saw the passing game. We expected the passing game to have success in chunk plays. That's what we said on the podcast
Yeah.
last week. And it really turned out to be the case with both quarterbacks having success. But I look at Seattle going up against that Patriots defense, and everybody's talking about how great the Seahawks defense is. I think that Patriots defense on paper looked pretty solid as well. I'm kind of wondering what that game is going to look like. I can tell you this with absolute certainty, because we were seeing a pattern shift on the Pacific weather. And about a week ago, I was like really worried about Super Bowl weather because it's in the Bay Area.
Mm.
And we're getting a lot of penetration of these strong systems into the Pacific Northwest and getting down into the northern half of California. And
Mhm.
hey, you date back about 3 weeks, and we were seeing heavy rain in the Southern California area too. Uh, we always keep an eye on the weather for the West Coast using Santa Anita, of course, for our
Mhm.
horse race fix. But the pattern just really shifted. I think we're going to have ideal weather conditions for the offenses in this game. We're going to have light winds relative to what the Bay Area usually gets this time of the year. And I don't think we're going to have any precipitation threat. The temperatures aren't going to be, real warm or real cold. So I think we're going to have probably about the most optimal weather conditions you could have. And in February in the Bay Area, that doesn't always happen.
I was just looking at the betting odds and looking at all that. I'm looking at the stat comparisons at this website, and I'm looking at offensive yards per play is about the same, Dennis.
Yeah.
Points per play is about the same. Uh, the big difference I see is red zone scoring. Defense is a little about 10% weaker with New England.
Yeah.
It's and and that could be the difference, but I think if people are judging the Seattle defense to be level above New England, I'm not seeing it in some of these categories. If I just look at the data and why don't, since we're videoing this, why don't I share this data? And Dennis, you can look at this too. I don't want to get too deep because we'll do this next week,
Yeah.
but here's just the offensive stat comparison, defensive stat. This is at this one site. And I was looking at the defense, Dennis, and if you look head to head, and I'm looking, the only difference I saw was right here. 60%, I guess you could say 40%, uh, you know, versus 60 and 50% scoring. Looks like there, like I said, 10% more scoring here by the New England D. So they're weaker by 10%, not weaker by 100%, by 10%. But
And
that's
about,
enough to
yeah,
maybe, I think Vegas has picked Seattle.
yeah. The line is 4.5 points to
Yeah.
Seattle. So
Hmm.
far in the early betting, 72% of the money is on Seattle.
Hmm.
So I would expect that line to maybe go up a little bit to even out that betting. The money line, 77% is on Seattle, and they opened at minus 234. They came down to minus 229. And
Hmm.
here's the curious part. Seattle or New England opened at plus 193,
Hmm.
and they've dropped to a plus 190. So they're kind of going in the same directions gradually, but 77% of the money is on Seattle. And when I looked at the data and I watched both of these defenses and both of the quarterbacks in, different situations, you had Darnold in the Seattle
Hmm.
offense going up against a much weaker Rams defense. And
Hmm.
you had New England going against a really strong and stubborn Denver defense.
Hmm.
I look at these two teams and I'm like, I can make a case for either team winning the Super Bowl because I don't think you have an elite team from top to bottom on either side. Like I think there are structural weaknesses that you can see in Seattle,
Hmm.
whether it's the quarterback play being uneven at times, which our consistency stats for fantasy football show that,
Hmm.
whether it's the fact that they're down one running back without Charbonnet. I mean, that's good news if you're trying to bet props on Walker, but
Hmm.
they're going to still use Halani to some extent as a change of pace guy. That's a weaker backup running back situation than they had. Defenses, both teams are relatively healthy coming into this game
Hmm.
versus what you usually expect. And now they get an extra week off. And both the quarterbacks, Darnold with the oblique strain, will be better with 2 weeks off rather than 1 week like he's been playing. And of course, Drake May, some think that he jammed his shoulder on one of those plays late in the game. So he gets 2 weeks to get back to 100%. He missed the first practice, the first, unofficial practice that they had early this week. He was limited participant, but
Yeah.
both teams are coming in relatively good shape health wise, which is rare for a Super
Yeah.
Bowl. But I'm not ready to make a prediction yet. We will save that for next
Yeah.
week.
And
But I
before
think it's
we,
close.
yeah, before we leave, I'm going to critique this site. I'm not even telling you what it is, but uh, notice they're trying to show in green the superior team. And when I look at head to head, 62.16 versus 63.84, I don't think that's a difference, Dennis. But
No.
yet it would show that it is. I would love to see league average, and
Yes.
they don't have that.
Yes.
So I have a
Yes.
problem with how they're biasing it. Over here, the same thing. Again, what's league average and what is away situation? And I
Right.
have that. They're showing that each team is fairly balanced and run pass, but that's including home and away together. What's away only? And we will actually have that data for you guys
I
next
love it.
week,
I
folks.
love it.
So just realize that this is just quick and dirty, and this is for you to look and say, oh, I see lots of green over here, or I see lots of green. Okay, that is not analyst. That's not being an analyst, folks. That's just kind of it's kind of like I'm familiar with something versus I know it. And I think I've said this before. Uh, what is, involved versus committed, same thing. It's
Yes.
the bacon and eggs, right? The chicken's involved. They laid egg, they're gone. The pig is on the plate. He's committed. So that's the scale here is tricky. It's not really telling you what I think the data. If I'm putting serious money on the Super Bowl, I wouldn't use this data at all. You would be tricked. In other words, but really it's a coin flip in some ways. And what I see a little bit of an edge in red zone scoring, but I don't know what the league average is. If the league average is, say, 70%, Dennis, I don't know what it is. This would tell me both teams suck as far as in the red zone. If the league average is 70, you know, for their opponent, or maybe they're better, red zone scoring here. Imagine the league average is say 70. Both of these don't score a lot in the red zone compared to the league. So I need some reference class forecasting
Yes.
standards, and I'm not seeing it with this data. So I'm pretty sad about what I see. I'll try to be better. We'll try to build scenarios and what ifs and try to get deeper next week, Dennis, next week. So
Yeah,
that's
when I look at data and I see 4.9 versus 4.8,
what does that mean?
and that's all I
It's
see.
comical.
I what I know is that it's likely, even without looking at what a league average is,
Yeah.
okay? But 4.9 versus 4.8, I'm probably not thinking that that is a significant difference. Like my first guess, my first hypothesis on that situation is they're the same. It's like when I look at my MVP data and I look at one guy at 120 and I look at another guy at 140, I know because of my statistical analysis of MVP that they're very similar. 120 versus an 80, on the other hand, then I know one guy is superior to the other. But if they're both over 120, they're both really good,
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that the data will show us a big difference in most areas between New England and Seattle. I think and I like that strategy. What is their efficiency on the road?
Yeah. I don't know.
Be-
I mean, I've
because,
got the data, but
yeah,
you and I will play on that next week.
well, that'll be a lot of fun. Well, we are always about talking fantasy football. And one of the things that I really think, one of my hypotheses in fantasy football is that the early
Er,
best ball ADPs,
yeah,
and I'm talking real early in this case,
yeah.
best ball ADPs will sometimes give us a little hint of what we can expect during redraft season later this year.
So I joined a $5 league, got plenty of money,
And that's about
made
all I would invest on a best ball league right
yeah,
now.
right now. And I think I can even leave it if I want. I
Yeah,
just did. I was actually going to copy this and leave, Dennis, so I'll have a spreadsheet and I'll
love it.
actually can have patterns. So I like patterns. I like how many RBs, WRs, tight ends, quarterbacks per round. I like to see the grand scheme the top down. And I'll talk, if you're not familiar with how I do that, later in the year, I'll be using that as a methodology to predict what maybe you should or shouldn't do at certain points. And usually it's later in the draft. Our philosophy, we have the Dennis is better than zero that we've modified. But I think the overall flavor, Dennis, is more sure picks early and get a little bit loosey goosey and maybe reach later. I think that most everybody probably does that because I think the clarity becomes hazy as you go through the draft. And of course, use your diary, see how you've done, but that's kind of the overall. So, people, I'm telling you, people will be staring at this first round probably more than they should, and they'll probably neglect, say, the third, fourth, fifth rounds because
Yes.
everybody's going to debate who's the number one and two. Folks, don't sit around all summer and throw stuff at throw rotten tomatoes at each other. What do you mean Chase is number two and Bijan's number one? It's clearly Chase one, Bijan two. And you'll hear radio shows, Dennis, and minutes, maybe even hours wasted on these kind of things. It's ridiculous to do that. Okay. So what is your tolerance for risk? What's your diary saying? All that has to come into play. There's so much to it versus just picking ones. But in the FFPC, this is the higher stakes league. The idea is these people, as a collection, okay, as a group, are a little bit more educated. I guess the smart money in horse racing, right? The trainers we think are smart money because they get to see the horse every day. And if the horse's paw is kind of tender, the trainer's probably not betting a lot of money on that horse. Versus if the trainer's got his tuxedo on at the Kentucky Derby, he's probably telling you he thinks he's going to win, right? Versus he's wearing his old stretch pants and slouchy hat, he's probably saying he doesn't have a shot. So, see what's going on here. But anyway, it's Bijan, Chase, Gibbs, Puka, JSN, Lamb, Brown, McBride, McCaffrey, Ashane, Bowers, London, and Taylor is the top 13. So, Dennis, where's the mistakes here? Does this seem about right? Is there some people in the second round that should be in the first and vice versa? Anything hit you in your first look at the ADP for coming into 2026?
Yeah, the first thing that jumps out to me is asking the question, where is James Cook? Because he was my second highest. He was tied for second highest rated running back.
He would be
with
17,
MVP.
Dennis.
And I love seeing him at 17 because what I can envision is being able to collect some serious value early in the second round with James Cook.
Okay.
So the other interesting thing that I noticed here right away is last year, all draft season, we had Brock Bowers about 8 to 12 positions ahead of Trey McBride. And here we're seeing about a 3 draft pick difference with McBride in the lead, as I believe he should be.
This is a tight end premium, folks.
Yes. Which explains why there's tight ends in the first round.
Right.
And as we saw last year, McBride at a 129. If you go all the way down to tight end 3. So I don't even have to go down that far. Tight end 3
Lovely.
was at a 70 in MVP for me last year. So that is such a huge drop off. That's why those tight ends, those super tight ends are valuable. But man, I'm kind of liking Fannin and Kraft and Laporta and Gadsden at a much cheaper price.
There's a rookie right here.
Yeah, that's way too expensive for a rookie that we don't even know where he's going to land, and we don't even know how good he's going to be. I have seen
Look at Kittle all the way down here. Are you kidding me?
So I've seen Sadiq rated as tight end 1 to tight end 3 among the rookies. I have seen him mock drafted as early as the top 10 and as late as the 3rd round.
If you look at rookie tight ends, big difference.
And see, here's where I think the recency bias of this previous year comes into play, because at rookie tight end last year, we had 2 guys that hit right at 50 with an MVP, which was top 10 level. Okay. It was actually about, historically, that is about tight end 8. And last year it was tight end 6. We had a total of 6 rookie tight ends that had a full season. And by full season, I meant 10 or more full games. And a full game is either 5 targets, 10 points scored, and that's not premium. So that's just regular, PPR points, or played 50% or more of the snaps. Right. So we had 3 tight ends that were viable last year as full-time starters. And then guys like Gadsden, who had some little streaks of season where they performed. But I think the success of the rookie tight ends, because we usually only have like 1 or 2 that have a full season. We had 6 last year. So I think we're going to see more rookie tight ends drafted this year. And I don't think it's a deep tight end class as far as instant fantasy football production. It's going to take the right landing spots to make these guys valuable. And I don't think we know enough.
Sadiq is more valuable than Ferguson? Boy,
No.
I'd have a hard Kincaid.
And I'll say this. I like Brenton Strange from Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Okay. When he was healthy, he was solid.
Yeah.
I like Gunnar Helm from Tennessee, the rookie from Tennessee last year. Yeah. I like to see him take a big step forward.
Yeah.
Those guys I like better than any of the rookies right now.
Juwan Johnson, as I'm looking down here, I'm salivating at some of these, these people that I'll probably pick up. I can see a collection of these for streaming purposes that I will, look at Kelsey way down here.
And right now, we're not sure Kelsey is going to play at all.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But if you can get him cheap early.
Look at Barner down here.
Yeah, I like Barner too. I like Terrence Ferguson because we know the Rams use tight ends.
Yeah. So anyway,
he could emerge. Yeah.
Dennis and I are just like, yeah. Right now, it's the old, if I don't take one of these 2, and I'm not sure I would, I'm probably collecting 2 or 3 in this area, Dennis and Stream. That's probably how I'm going to approach it. And the reason I feel good is I see some really interesting names. Look at Kittle down here. I feel like, and of course I haven't looked at the comp data, my consistency metric, but I will, and I'll have more to say at this point. We just were just touching briefly
Very
some of
curious.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's what I'll say about tight end. I don't think there's a position in fantasy football that I treat more different in best ball and redraft as I do the tight end position.
Yep, because it's
In
TD forward.
oh yeah, and in redraft there are so few tight ends that give you that elite production. I'm more
That
likely,
PPR catching production.
oh yeah, I'm more likely to spend up in redraft at tight end than I am
Yes.
in best ball. Best ball, I love taking 3 late.
Yeah.
Like I like to go shopping for 3 late. And this time of the year, of course, we have no idea what the schedule is going to be even. So we don't have an idea who's off on what weeks for bye weeks.
Oh.
So if you're drafting a 2026 team
Yep.
in early February,
Dennis, people are doing it.
Oh, I know they're spending big money already.
Yeah, $5 is big money for me this time of year.
$5 would be all I'd be willing to put into the till. But I find it curious. Like I said, the one thing I like about looking at this very early best ball ADP is you get an idea on where the consensus is to beat. Go to wide receivers, and I'll point out a couple of interesting things.
Okay, here we go.
So here's our top wide receivers. So again, Chase, we know, is vulnerable to an injury to himself or to his quarterback. We saw a big disparity in production with Burrow versus Flacco versus everybody else that they ran through the quarterback position. So Chase, while he gives you those big game upside when Burrow is healthy, if we lose Burrow again, Chase is like a low end WR1, high end WR2 range. We saw Puka do great with Stafford. Is Stafford coming back next year? Probably. Does he stay healthy for 17 games and have a super season? Probably. I mean, Stafford is a pocket quarterback. I don't see his game deteriorating much, so I like Puka too. But the guy I really like as my top wide receiver is JSN. He had such a great season last year, but I actually think there's more room to the upside with him. Because what we saw out of him going, his progression so far, and it was all predictable because the first year they basically had 2 other guys competing for touches with him, and he still put an 85 on the I'm sorry, he still put he only had a 19 his rookie year. Then they got rid of one of the threesome because Lockett was gone, right? Mm-hmm. So then he was competing with just DK Metcalf. Shot up to an 88 year 2. Was very predictable. We expected an increase. We expected he had a chance to take over as the top wide receiver on his own team, but he was still limited by what Geno Smith could do at quarterback. This year, DK Metcalf's gone. So now he is the top dog and the only dog in that receiving game. I mean, Cooper Kupp was a great addition as a WR2 to keep a little of the heat off of him, but JSN was the man. I mean, he was seeing the volume of that typical alpha wide receiver. He shot up to a 147. I think he can play back to that next year. And Darnold's back. I think Darnold's will get, I mean, he's got one more year on his contract, but I think if he does well in the Super Bowl, they're going to re-sign him. I like JSN as my top guy. My safest guy at wide receivers, again, I'm on Ross St. Brown. What we've seen out of St. Brown ever since his rookie season has been nothing short of amazing. He's been an MVP in 120 as elite. He's put up seasons of 120, 144, 124, 125.
Ultra consistent.
He's the only one with 4 120 in a row seasons who's active for 26. So he's my guy.
Would you take, if you had pick 4 and Bijan is still there by some miracle, would you take him over JSN and in other words, you're assuming that, in other words, is Bijan gotta have? I mean, if you look at round 1, what it seemed to me is if you didn't get the first pick or 2, you probably weren't getting him. And I think that opens the door for lots of possibilities. What do you think right now? Just thinking.
Right now, and it's way too early to make any definitive statements, but my 3 favorite running backs in the first round right now, Bijan, Gibbs, and Achane, and I really can't split the 3 that clearly. Bijan's obviously like 1A, but I put Gibbs and Achane in the same tier with him. And, I know that, McDaniel is supposed to be this offensive wizard, just got fired from Miami. He wasn't enough of a wizard, apparently. I think Achane could be even better in a better offense. And I think that offense could be better if they bring in a right quarterback. So I think there's a lot of upside there. But my number 4 running back is Cook. So those 4 guys, and Cook's just a little bit below those top 3.
So CMC is not in your top 5?
CMC is a guy that I'm concerned about. But boy, I get to the end of the first round and he's still there. I like those other 4 guys ahead of CMC.
Yeah.
At running back. Now, as far as the wide receivers go, I'm kind of liking JSN as my number 1 guy.
Yep.
I'm kind of leaning Nakua 2 and St. Brown 3 right now. So I probably won't have a lot of Jamar Chase because I think he'll be gone before I invest in a wide receiver in the first round, because I think my tendency might be to be a little bit more running back heavy early in my drafts next year, because my diary's telling me that I'm pretty good at finding value at wide receiver. Am I finding like Jamar Chase, JSN, Nakua, and St. Brown value? Of course not. But I'm finding good enough wide receivers that if I can combine that with 2 really good running backs, it gives me an elite 4 in redraft. Now, best ball is a whole different game. But in redraft, I like to have a very solid foursome, 2 really good running backs, 2 really good wide receivers. And when I say really good, I want guys that are over 100 in MVP to lead off those 4 spots. And I'm fairly good at finding them, but I'm better, I think, at finding that super value, that secondary value at wide receiver based on volume. But that's where I'm sitting right now, I think.
Before we leave this little look-see, because I know we're probably talking more than we should, folks. And so just realize our opinions at this point are jello. They're shaky. And but I just wanted Dennis to kind of look at the rookie landscape, and let me just set it up by saying it looks to me like the public says hands down they'll take Love, J Love over everybody, and the rest of the crew looks like a big group here. Tate, Sadiq, Price, Tyson, kind of that next tier, and then there's another little tier, and then it's your guess is as good as mine. The first quarterback is Mendoza, way down at 163. So, do you have any? And I think you've told us Sadiq is too high, so let's throw him down. So, who are you picking in a rookie draft? You've got the first pick. Who you picking, Dennis?
It's Love.
Love. Okay.
But
if you've got the second pick, Love's gone. Who you picking?
Then it gets tough because, and I'm assuming this is a one quarterback league to make it simpler.
Let's assume it's not a super flex.
So I'm just saying, in a one quarterback league, after Love, before I know landing positions
or
for the other running backs,
opportunity possibilities, and all this other stuff that we use.
Yes. Before I look at all of that, just based on the talent, and again, I am not a super expert on scouting talent.
Right.
I'm better at finding opportunity.
Right.
But having said that, I think the public is right that the three best wide receivers are Tate, Tyson, and Lemon. I believe
that's what the public is saying.
That's what the public is saying. But look at, there's almost, it's like 2 rounds and a little bit between the three of them, right? And only 9 spots between Tyson and Lemon. I can make a case for either Tyson or Lemon as my favorite wide receiver this year over Tate. I think those top 3 are really closer than what the public is saying right now.
Dynasty wise,
I'd take Lemon. Without knowing where they're going. I think Tate and Lemon are really close to me for wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 among the rookies. I can't separate them. And Tyson is just so close in that 3rd spot that I basically am putting, again, we're going into the end of January, 1st of February.
Right.
We don't know where these guys are going to land yet. We don't know who is going to have the best draft capital.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the 3 of those wide receivers, I have a larger blanket to throw over the field.
Right.
Those 3, I think the public is right that they're the best. After Love, I don't know who the next best running back is. I think that is going to be determined more
by opportunity
than it is at wide receiver.
So Superflex Dynasty, which I know you love, what say you here in this crew? Besides Mendoza, is Simpson worth that second pick? Because the public says Mendoza, no doubt, Simpson, no doubt. I have no clue after that. That's what they're telling us.
And that's a good analysis. I think Mendoza is going to be the only quarterback that is drafted in the first round this year. I think it's possible that either Simpson or Nussmeier could go in the first to a very desperate quarterback needy team.
Yeah.
But here's how I will put it. I will comp these quarterbacks to their 2025 rookie class group. Okay, so just to remind you, the four quarterbacks that we had that really emerged at some point in the season, there were actually three. Dylan Gabriel, I think, looked better than Shedeur Sanders, but he got replaced, so I wouldn't include him in that list. But we had Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, and Tyler Shuck, that all three had what I would call pretty decent seasons for rookies. Okay, Shuck had a 78 and started enough games that's a significant number. Okay, and 78 is not bad for a rookie. That's actually pretty damn good for a rookie quarterback.
Right.
Jackson Dart was a 92.
Yeah.
He was in a class of his own. What I would say about this rookie class, I think Fernando Mendoza is more likely to be in that Tyler Shuck range than he is in that Jackson Dart range. I don't think Simpson and Nussmeier, they're more in the Gabriel Sanders range. Could emerge as a starting quarterback, but don't like their chances. The guy I would like above all of these guys, first of all, Jackson Dart. I'll draft Jackson Dart again ahead of any of these quarterbacks. In Superflex, I will draft Tyler Shuck in any of the versus, and I mean over Mendoza. If I had the like first or second pick in Dynasty this year, I'm dealing it for a package of players because I don't think Love and this is Superflex, okay? I don't think Love or Mendoza are going to be fantasy football franchise changing players. Absolutely. So I don't think Love is the second coming of Barkley or Robinson or Gibbs. And I think Fernando Mendoza is like a Tyler Shuck quality, where I think he'll have a very good career. But I don't think his arc is top 12. I think his eventual landing position in MVP, again, this is fantasy football. This isn't real football. In fantasy football, I think his potential ceiling is closer to like 11 to 19 than it is top 10. Which is where I got Shock. I think Shock is like 15th, maybe next year.
So Mendoza in the big scheme of things, wow. He's way down there, Dennis.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In best ball or redraft, in one quarterback redraft, I would not even make an investment in Mendoza. I wouldn't pick him because I actually think
look at Dart is 2, 4, 6, 7th.
I think that's priced right. I think that might be a little expensive. So I probably won't end up with too much of him.
Shuck. Wow.
Shuck is going to be a bargain.
That's what it looks like to me.
Here's kind of where I
stack Shuck and Olave and Juwan Johnson, and that might be a nice little best ball stack.
Very cheap stack. Yeah. Look at where Mahomes is going at quarterback. And I understand there's the injury concern.
Yeah. Wow.
But boy, if you went and put a Mahomes with a Trevor Lawrence or a Dak Prescott or any of those guys at that price, you take two quarterbacks back to back in that 80 to 90 range. I'm okay with Mahomes if he misses a few games. I think my game plan this year will be to take like two of the guys starting at Caleb Williams. And, where is Drake May going? He should be going like top 3 or 4.
Yep. 2.
Yep. Top 2. Okay. See, Lamar Jackson to be a guy I'd steer away from. Burrow, I'm not crazy about. Jaden Daniels has got so much upside, but boy, you're you're pretty much paying for it right there at 5, QB5. Hurts at 6 is probably priced right, but I probably won't take him that early. I like Jackson Dart, but I'm a little bit concerned about the injury risk since he likes to lead with his head. That many concussions, I'm not saying he's injury prone, but it's a concern. Justin Herbert, I think, Justin Herbert might be where I start drafting quarterbacks next year because with a healthy offensive line, I think he could have a super year. Love Caleb Williams, love Trevor Lawrence at these prices. Again, I think one of these guys, and if I take two of them, one of these guys from Herbert down past Mahomes, if I take two of them, I think I got a top 5 quarterback when I play the matchups.
Yep.
Very similar to this year, where I loved having Dak and Drake May.
Right.
They came cheap and even added some Baker Mayfield to that bunch. And it was fairly easy. And Goff, of course, easy to add 2 of those guys and to play the right matchup 8 out of 10 times and have a top 6 value quarterback drafting very late. Another guy that I'm intrigued about for next year, I'm interested to see where some of these guys will land, like a Mac Jones. Does he stay with San Francisco or does he get a chance somewhere else? Where do we end up seeing? We're going to see Tua getting a shot somewhere else. He's not going to get a shot in Miami, but is he going to get a shot somewhere else? There's so many of these potential moves that are going to be interesting. Do we see Kirk Cousins end up starting and we see Penix traded? I mean, there's so many moves that could happen at quarterback here that there's going to be some value plays. But right now, again, recording this on the 31st of January, right now, I'm thinking I let somebody else take down through Hurts. And I start getting interested about the Dart, Herbert, Williams, Lawrence group. And I think I'm putting Mahomes on. If I can get that value on Mahomes when I start drafting in June, if I get that value with Mahomes, he's going to be on a lot of teams because all he's got to do is get healthy for the last 8 weeks of the season. And you're getting top 5 quarterback production. This is a guy who I know he got hurt. Okay. I understand that. I understand he might not start the year. But with a year when they had so much chaos, MVP of 107, just to kind of let you know, when we had EB at offensive coordinator and he's back for next year, 123, 140, 118, 141. That's what you got out of Mahomes. I didn't count the first year of 158 because their defense sucked. So, of course, he was going to be high. But with good defenses, he was over 120. 3 of 4 years, and the year he didn't hit it, he was at 118, which is exactly the same as 120 when it comes to MVP. So he had 4 elite seasons in a row with EB as the offensive coordinator. I kind of think they got a chance at a revival if he's healthy.
Well, I think that was probably more time than we needed to spend on that, but that was good. I'm going to copy all that and just keep it, and we can use that as a touchstone to see if anything dramatic. There's going to be a lot of difference between now and
Oh, yeah.
August. But anyway, it's a good to hear Dennis flapping his chops. But I'm waiting for his opportunity articles in June, July,
Yes.
August before I get really worked up on any of this. I may take a few best ball. The only best balls I played last year, Dennis, was the tournament. We did 3 shots and we made it to the second round and made some money. That was good. Thank you for your help in doing that. If Tua hadn't been set down, I'm
Oh,
wondering if we could
oh,
have moved to the big money round. The third
yeah.
round is the big, but that's, candy and wishes and dishes gets us soup and nuts, Dennis, and that's kind of what we all end up with. But we'll probably take 3 more shots next year and see where we go again. I'm looking forward to that.
And I will say this, my first takeaway after my first look at this rookie class of running backs,
Yeah.
fewer starters by week 8 than what we saw this year.
I mean, you
And to
had
give you,
that prediction
I
that's so in a year like that, what does that mean about the RB2s then? Are they
yes,
going to get more use? Where is there some bargains there in some of the, I'm gonna put in quotes, old names? Yeah, we're tired of David Montgomery. He's, that kind of, I mean, is there more value just having that, people all fired up on rookie RBs than they should be?
yeah, I think there's
You
going to
see
be
what I'm
more.
thinking? I'm thinking
Yeah,
people getting too, you know, they're chewing on the bit a little too much.
yeah, and I think there's going to be great values like Travion Henderson and Ramonde Stevenson combining those two. You
Uh,
know,
Stacking them up. Mhm.
drafting both, drafting, you
Play them
know,
both. Yep.
drafting Judkins and Sampson with Cleveland. Those kinds of duos, Mononjay and Swift. Like
Yeah.
I, I will probably be very open to drafting more double backfields.
Hmm.
I will probably be lower on this rookie class. I'm thinking right now, before I see landing positions, I think just it's a down year. After Love, I think there might be 2 or 3 others. And remember, last year, my first guess was 6 to 8 guys
Yes.
in the starting lineup by week 6, and we ended up having 9 running backs that had really good fantasy football value for part of the season. The guys I'm looking at here, looking into next year, I like a lot of the second year guys. Okay, this year's rookie class. How about Tootin stepping up if ETN is gone?
Yeah.
How about Devin Neal stepping up instead,
Different.
of Kamara
Right.
in New Orleans? Those are the kinds of guys that I'm going to be very interested to see what their price tag is. Guys like Hampton, Judkins, they're going to be really drafted early. Giante might slip a little bit, but those are the guys that I think the second year guys are going to have a lot more success this year than the rookie class will, because I think there's a lot of potential. I'm really interested to see what the price tag will be on Woody Marks by the time we get to June and July,
Yeah.
after we know what Houston does for that other running back position. There are so many guys from this draft class this year that are
Right.
going to be very intriguing, but it's all going to be driven by their price tag. So head on over to the scienceoffantasyfootball.com. You can read up on my MVP index to see what the heck I'm talking about there, and also find out more about what the professor does with the com data so you can get a better understanding when we're throwing terms around that you'll understand us more in the weeks ahead. Head on over to the sportsaffiliation.com. Like and subscribe on their YouTube channel. They'll have lots of great shows during the off season. We'll be back with a matchup lab for the Super Bowl next week. And then come on back here next week for another edition of the Science of Fantasy Football.
Get to work, folks.